Apparently we were.
There we go.
Alright. So I'm sorry. I couldn't let Shenmue end.
I mean, Shenmue never ends.
It never will. But...
Not until we're all dead. Dead and gone. And forgotten.
And yet they'll still somehow be making Shenmue 8. They won't even be done.
Giving them a lot of credit that they're gonna not be making Shenmue 4 in like 50 years.
I mean, they could still... No. What they're gonna do is in 50 years they're gonna reboot it. And they won't even be done. They'll just reboot it. Re-release Shenmue 1.
Yeah, except this time there'll be more forklift action.
Hell yeah. Maybe it'll actually control better. God only hope. God can only hope. What?
I don't know. I'm sure it's still recording. It's fine.
Okay.
My virus detector thing is going off, everybody.
Alright, yeah, that says it's still recording. So, but what this sort of inspired for me, I'm glad you guys can't see because I am doing weird hand motions.
Oh, I can see.
Yeah, I know. Is I wanted to talk about what an adventure game is and what makes an adventure game good, because I feel like studying Shenmue really highlights a lot of the it really inspired that conversation within me, because it also got me going on Breath of the Wild and my experience with other Zelda games. And I'm sorry I even have to bring it up, but it also led me down to thinking about Omicron, the Nomad Soul.
Oh yeah, that game. I was blissfully ignorant of it for the last 5 years.
So was I. Don't worry.
I wasn't thinking about it, and then you brought it up, and now I'm thinking about it again.
Don't worry. I think the only exposure I ever had to a single David Cage game was my mom mentioning how cool Heavy Rain looked.
It looked cool.
To be fair, David Cage games, when taken with a vertical slice, are appealing to normies. They look really good.
Does it though?
No. Like if you just see,
like, are we talking like graphically or
graphically, and like the shit they cut to make a trailer, it looks appealing if you don't know what you're looking at.
I don't even know if I'd say it looks good, like just like looking at it without knowing what it is.
No. Like because let's not. I'm gonna try and wrap this up because this tangent's gonna go way too far. But I would say Quantic Dream games look good.
I don't know. I've seen better looking games.
Well, yeah, obviously, but for the studio that they are and what they put out, I think Quantic Dream games look really good. They're just written by an idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the way I wanted to start it off with, I have two main questions, and that's really all I want to get into. I'm sorry for the Omicron, the 3-minute Omicron segue. It will actually come back in to what just as a light dusting of mention. But I guess the first thing is, like, what is an adventure game?
I mean,
you can get as granular or as general as you want.
I mean, I feel like an adventure game is just what it says on the tin. You go on an adventure, which is probably like 95% of games, excluding things like maybe Animal Crossing, which, to be fair, you could consider that an adventure in tedium.
And owning a house.
Yeah.
Paying a mortgage.
Yeah, learning what it's like to be an adult, I guess. If you could fund your adulthood on catching bugs and fish and selling them to a raccoon.
And planting money to grow money trees.
Yeah, and then your tool's breaking. Anyway.
Hell yeah. Alright, so...
But yeah, no, I feel like adventure games are... I feel like every game's an adventure game if you look at it. Like,
that's fair.
I can't think of very many examples of games that I'd go, you're not on an adventure in this.
Alright, so
what I had was I'm gonna echo some of this. Obviously, you need some sense of adventure. For me, you gotta have something to explore. For me, that's what an adventure is. There has to be a world out there that you don't know about that is worth looking at. You also need a reason to explore, like collectibles or equipment. Obviously, I mean, Zelda's the easiest one to like point at. It's like you collect gear, you collect heart containers, you collect equipment. Be that jars, tunics, swords, and you also need a feeling, for me anyway, that you grow in skill. Preferably not through numbers. I think once you've introduced on the surface numbers, you've become an RPG. Like once you're investing one or a certain number into a stat, you're an RPG. But I would say through acquired skills or simply through...
So does that make Dark Souls not an adventure game?
I would say an adventure game is... Any game you could say you go on an adventure, but you cease to be an adventure game when either mechanically or otherwise it's overshadowed. So in an RPG, it's very clear that you are... I mean, the sad part is that what RPG actually stands for is literally an adventure game. It's a role-playing game.
Yeah.
But I would say the numbers take over in importance over the sense of adventure. In how much they impact your ability to progress through the story. Like, I like to play Dark Souls games as if they were an adventure game. Like, I don't level up much, and I simply upgrade my equipment, which is still adding numbers, but the nice part is that Souls games do allow for that acquisition of skill. So there are heavier adventure elements in an action RPG, especially one as in-depth as Souls, but I still consider Souls to be an RPG.
Okay.
Over an adventure game. Another thing I say is that you need a story. An adventure game is not a sandbox. When I say that you need a reason to explore, the story is almost just as important. I don't necessarily need a story to force me to go places, and in fact, that's actually one of my praises of Breath of the Wild versus my issues with Ocarina. Well, actually, my issues with Ocarina have nothing to do with the story. I think the story is fine.
I was gonna say, like, it doesn't like force you to go anywhere.
It doesn't.
You just got to keep going in different directions until you hit a wall.
Yeah, which I actually find incredibly annoying. But yeah. So just to bring it back to the idea of like sandbox, what I said is like there has to be some reason you're out and about. Simple survival sandbox isn't exactly adventure feeling. I like if you can go into...
So you wouldn't call Minecraft an adventure?
No.
Okay.
Because the idea for me, the idea of an adventure is you're like I guess for me it's a difference between exploration and an adventure. If you're on an exploration, you're just out to see stuff.
Yeah, but isn't that an adventure in itself?
It
like,
is.
There doesn't have to be an end goal that is like save the world.
No, but I wouldn't consider most exploration games to be an adventure game. I don't get the same sense of adventure from playing Minecraft that I do from playing a Zelda game. Even Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild still goes, you see that shit? That's a problem. and you're gonna solve that. You can take as much time as you want. God, I don't care, despite the fact that I need you to save my daughter, and I'm gonna turn into ghost dust in a minute. You gotta solve that shit. And that is always present. Just about anywhere you go on the map, I think you can see Hyrule Castle.
Okay.
I
mean, probably. I'm sure there's places where you.
There probably is. Like obviously when you go indoors and shit.
Well, I was thinking more like in Gerudo Valley, desert, whatever.
Yeah, it probably is.
There's big old plateaus.
Yeah, but like in a general sense, like you always see that there. And for me, like if you're meandering and you're not, if there is literally no goal, it doesn't feel like an adventure anymore. You can make your own adventures, and I certainly do that in games, especially Breath of the Wild. But yeah, but I guess to kind of go back into it, I also need a ton of freedom. I want that story to go back to, like, I need a little bit of structure, but I also sometimes get tired of it, and it's like, can I just go do my own fucking thing? Just give me some. That's more in the realm of like what I think makes a good adventure game, so that's a bit different. But yeah, I would say it's story. You need exploration, at least in some sense, even if it's railroaded. You need to be discovering things, and you need to get better in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So this leads to the harder question, which is what makes a good adventure game, which I think is the question that Shenmue really sets off the discussion for.
I'm not gonna lie, I really don't have an answer for what makes a good adventure.
I mean,
obviously you need to be invested in it, so it needs to feel like there's, I guess, stakes involved, and it doesn't feel like, oh, by the way, you beat this guy who was supposed to be the big bad, but we're moving the goalpost because now there's an even bigger bad over there. Like, I feel like something like that kind of detracts from it. But
let's see, what did I have here?
like, I'm not always the best judge of what's good and bad. I just know things that I like and things I don't like, and that's usually where I go from my judgment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the obvious place to start is we break down the bad, and then we break down the good. So, like, what do we know that's a bad adventure game?
Shenmue.
Well, and as I said at the end of the playthrough, I don't think Shenmue is 100% garbage.
Only 75.
Yeah, it's very much a lot of garbage.
There's a lot of empty space, and I feel like that's a bad thing. Like, if you're gonna make empty space, just don't put it in the game.
Either don't put it in the game, or put something there to do. That's what Breath of the Wild did. It put shit around for you to do. If you're not invested in looking at it, at the very least, there's shrines.
Yeah, no, Shenmue has the issue of there's a lot of empty space, and that's to keep you from playing through it too fast. And I feel like that is a bad design. Because when we were playing it, they would be like, oh, you found out where Charlie is. Now wait until tomorrow so you can confront Charlie. Oh, God. Go explore the arcade, or go explore your cabinets. Find that cockroach.
To quote a certain famous internet video, there is so much goddamn waiting. And it is so much more appropriate to apply this quote to Shenmue. There is so much waiting. And there's nothing to do. Like, Like, you watch our playthrough and watch how we have to struggle to find ways to waste time.
Well, I thought looking at the dog for more than a few minutes, I thought that was not a struggle.
That wasn't. But there were times where it's like, where I'm like, go to the arcade or go practice moves. And then we do the thing and it's like, it's not that fun. Fuck. Adventure games need to be fun.
Well, that's all games.
I mean, yeah, but like that's one of the biggest problems I have with like sandbox games is that sandbox games typically go like invent your own fun. It's like, how about you invent some fun so I can at least do something? I'll invent my own fun when I feel like it, but for God's sake, like
but Shenmue added 2 whole games in the game, plus a QuickTime event simulator.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supposed to do for fun.
As well as learn how to play Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Because another one that, just to wrap it back around as an obvious... Because one thing that I said is that if you're railroaded into a story, because some adventure games will do that, they will just be like, you got a little bit of wiggle room, but you're on a path. If you're going to railroad us into a story, you need good pacing. Don't drag things out. Performing mundane tasks with nearly zero guidance, such as with Omicron and Shenmue.
Weird how those were both on the Dreamcast. Strange.
Yes. Crazy that. Yeah, no, like, Omicron's like the ultimate sinner in this, where there are times where there is one solution to the problem, you are given no guidance, the only thing you can do is search a mostly empty open world for that one solution.
No, that's fine.
And you just have to figure it out.
So you're saying if they had added like a notepad feature that Shenmue's got, it would be better?
There is a hint system in Omicron.
Oh yeah, you gotta buy with rings.
Which are your saves?
Yeah, your ink ribbons, whatever.
Oh, God. No, well, it costs more than one save. It costs like 3.
Yeah, that's why you save and then you spend them.
Oh, yeah. And then you
spend
reset.
your ink
Yeah,
ribbons,
no. Oh, God. Omicron is terrible. But yeah, no, just... And the sad part is that I personally think David Cage games got better at pacing their story as they went. I'm not saying any of them are good. Although Detroit Become Human is decent.
I'd say a third of that game could have been cut out and no one would have noticed.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It goes on really long. But it's also the game where they reined him in the most. Which says a whole fucking lot. But, yeah, like this is the thing about, like, Zelda games, where there's, like, in my opinion, Ocarina doesn't have a lot of freedom. You have the freedom to not do the objective.
I mean, you're going to have to do it at some point. But there's not a whole lot of things to do outside of the objective.
I know, but like...
There's 4 mini-games, I think 2 of which become unavailable after the time skip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot to explore, and you get... you can get heart pieces, but like one of my favorite things about Twilight Princess is part of the progression. Well, actually, no. Do you learn more moves in Wind Waker?
Yeah, you can learn 2 of them. 2 moves.
But are they Are they scattered throughout the story? I don't.
Yeah, what you do is you have to find dark nuts and steal their belts, and then you give them to a man with a spear, and he will teach you how to spin.
The shark pusher.
The what?
The sword dude who pushes the shark. Like you walk in on him and he's like shoving at this.
Yeah, the guy.
The wood shark or something.
Yeah, the swordsman guy who teaches you how to use sword.
Yeah.
If you give him enough belts, he'll teach you how to use sword better.
Interesting. I personally think Twilight Princess does a better job with it, if only because there's more of them.
I mean, half the moves you learn in Twilight Princess are moves that you had in Wind Waker.
That's fine.
Because, like, I think there's 2 parries you can learn in Twilight Princess, and you learn both of them at the same time in Wind Waker.
Oh.
It's a situational thing. Like,
Yeah.
if the game goes, well, you attack them from behind, so we're going to just automatically do your fucking roll around. Or if you attack them from above, we'll do the jump over them.
Okay.
Where in Twilight Princess, it's like, no, you gotta learn both of them. You learn both of them at different times, and then you have to decide which one to use.
Okay.
At least that's how I remember it.
I mean, I haven't beaten the game, so I just remember being really... like, that's another thing about adventure games, is like, the presentation matters. Like, I don't remember learning any moves in, I barely remember, like, talking to the sword guy in Wind Waker, and it was silly. I loved learning moves from, what was it,
Hero Shade.
Hero Shade. Like, I will admit that, you can feel kind of the cinematic bloat starting to gather in Twilight Princess, where there's significantly more fluff. It's trying to be more epic, and thus, like, learning a move is an event.
Yeah.
Instead of a tutorial. Like,
well, I mean, you don't need any of the moves except for the first one.
No, but...
And almost all of them are complete garbage, aside from the 2 parries.
You're not wrong. But I love the... I love the pomp and circumstance to an extent. I will say that I do not understand the purpose of keeping you... Well, I just realized a really weird parallel. There is a parallel between all the time you spend in what's the city in the sky called in Skyward Sword?
Skyloft?
The time you spend in Skyloft versus the time you spend on the plateau in Breath of the Wild. They're both equivalent in time. About an
Kind of, but you go back to Skyloft. Like, that's your hub.
Okay.
So, like,
but you're in both games you're like stuck, and
I mean, Skyloft is Tutorial Town, but it's also Hub Town and Quest Town and Final Dungeon Town.
I need to play a certain amount of Skyward Sword so I can speak with more confidence on certain things. But anyway, oh god. Because I wanted to segue into Skyward Sword, and then I'm realizing I don't know enough about Skyward Sword to even. I mean, I know certain sins that Skyward Sword perpetuates, not perpetuates, that commits, but I don't think they're indicative of being a bad adventure game in a sense. I mean, they are bad, like fighting the imprisoned.
Yeah, but you only do that 3 times.
That's still 3 times.
Yeah, but it changes minimally.
The only good time is the last time.
Yeah, well, you know.
It's because Groose is involved, I think.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine.
But like it's really difficult because like a lot of because the problem is I'm trying to get to an objective statement, and like I can't make an objective statement on how much freedom should be in an adventure game, because that's relative.
Yeah.
Because I love all the freedom that Breath of the Wild gave me, and I goof the fuck off, and I play that game at least a couple hundred hours, and I loved every minute of it. You beat it once, and you were like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a commitment. It was, and I didn't feel like rediscovering the same things I had discovered originally. Like, when I started, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, oh, you can do this, oh, you can do that, and then, like, when you get to the end game, it's still, it's all just, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep doing that. And the only thing that's changed is now, instead of a red bokoblin, it's a silver one. Oh boy, it has more hit points, and the same AI.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that kind of drives me up a wall when people are like, oh no, it's real good. I'm like, but it doesn't change. It's the same stuff, just things now have bigger numbers.
Yeah, I never considered I liked aspects of the combat in Breath of the Wild. I loved, funny enough, I loved the just the cool shit you could do, but I was never gonna pretend that like fighting a basic bokoblin was fun.
Yeah, no, especially when they're just like, well, now it takes 30 hits. Oh, by the way, your weapon broke. And you can't just pick up a spare one now, because that tree branch isn't gonna do much against Silver Bokoblin.
No, and you didn't kill any of the bokoblins because they're all too high leveled and your weapon broke, and good luck. Your Master Sword still has 10 minutes left.
Guess it's time to run away or just throw bombs forever.
Oh yeah, those bombs that do about as much damage as that stick.
Oh, you're playing on Nightmare Mode or Hero Mode or whatever the DLC was? Oh, I guess you lose, considering you can't do damage to them now.
If you can't damage them, they're just gonna get all their health back, so you better have learned how to hoard fucking... You better have learned where every spawn for every good weapon is, because that's how I played that game. Every blood moon, it was like, oh, time to go shopping. But for me, because I'm not a completionist, I don't know. You didn't do all the Koroks, did you?
No,
Good.
I didn't even do all the shrines.
Wow.
I got like 110 of them. I was missing 10, and the one that finally killed my enthusiasm was the one where I had to wait for a blood moon.
Ew.
And I think I waited like 2 hours and nothing happened. And I'm like, I'm not gonna leave this spot and go hunt things to force a blood moon, because as soon as I leave, blood moon's gonna happen. And
then it's over. Yeah. Because for me, what was so much fun was that because of the way my brain works, I have ADHD, and things will hold my focus for only so long unless I partition them. And that's the beauty of Breath of the Wild, is that it's too big of a game for me to be able to do it all. So multiple playthroughs for me, and what's sad though is that it holds my attention so well that really I got about 3 playthroughs before I was like, all right, I've seen everything that I wanted to see. Because one of the last areas I ever explored was the mountainous area before the Gerudo Desert. I didn't hang out in the snowy area because you need like the warm tunic and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or cold clothing. But because I'm so flippant and scatterbrained sometimes, I will just not go to certain areas, and then suddenly I'll play it again and I'll be like, I didn't go here. Holy shit, this is cool. And so I just got a lot of new experiences out of it. But yeah, even still, at a certain point, it was just like, yeah, I saw it. I saw everything I needed to see. I definitely didn't do anywhere close to every shrine. I flirted with the idea, and then I had one shrine I could not find. It kept popping up on my shrine radar, and I just could not locate it, and I was just like, this is pissing me off too much. I'm done.
Yeah, I just sort of gave up on shrines after they started all being pretty much the same puzzle. Like, oh, can you defeat this small guardian? I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Do I want to waste 7 weapons on it? No, not really.
I like fighting the guardians. Sort of.
I mean,
I like fighting them to get their weapons.
like, it was fine. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to walk in, I'm going to do a flurry attack, and then I'm going to wait for him to attack me again, and so I can keep doing flurry attacks. And this is how this is going to go down, and I'm probably going to lose 4 or 5 weapons in the process of gaining 2 more pretty frail weapons.
Yeah.
And a 4th of either the stamina wheel extension or a 4th of a heart piece.
Woo.
And it's like, well, and even if you do all the shrines, you can't get max both. So it's like,
wow, I didn't actually know that.
yeah, if you max out your wheel, you get 3 wheels, but you'll be like 4 heart pieces shy. Or 4 heart containers shy.
That's weird.
I think it was in order to make Mifa's blessing a thing. Because you know how it gives you an extra 5 containers.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the intent, is that you would fill up your stamina wheel, and then you'd leave the extra heart pieces, or heart containers gone, so you could get more via food.
Oh, yeah.
Thus giving you a reason to, make certain foods. And it's just like, well, I don't like temporary things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh boy, I'm warm for 10 minutes, and then I have to stop, and I have to get warm again for 10 minutes. And
I swear to God, the only reason those timed effects exist was to encourage you to find the equipment that just gave you what you needed. It was
I'm sure that was a reason, too.
Which I can appreciate.
I'm sure it was more of a thing like, hey, you're out of these things. Why don't you go find more? Well,
yeah, that too.
Why don't you just drop some fish on the ground and make them frozen so you can go explore the mountain? Now that you've got fish popsicles, you can go explore the hot mountain because, you'll stay cool.
Certain parts of that game are fucking absurd. Yeah, no.
But does any of that make a good adventure game? I don't know.
I
feel like that's just, again, the Animal Crossing thing where it's adventures in tedium.
Yeah, and certain people want that tedium.
No.
I don't know why, and I feel like that's only for, like back when I was a young adult. I'm talking, like, maybe even, no, like a teenager. Back when I was a teenager, I wanted games with tedium. I thought that was really cool. I wanted them to simulate reality as hard as possible. I am now 30 years old, almost 31, and goddamn, just cut the fucking hub world, let me go to a fucking menu. I don't care. I don't want to locate these people. I just want to do the thing so I can play more of the game. Fucking low long, fucking... We want to be more like Dark Souls. You really don't. The worst part of Dark Souls was the fact that you had to level up at a lady you had to find.
Yeah, but she was always at the same spot. Most of the time.
Yeah, well, people don't really wander and low long, I hope.
Probably not, I don't know.
But the worst sin that Dark Souls ever made was, in the first one, they were like, well, we had a level up lady, but we had to cut her because of constraints. Level up at the bonfire. Perfect. They never did it again. Except for...
Until Elden Ring.
Until Elden Ring. It still technically required a lady. She was just following you around.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But fuck, like, yeah, there's just so many things that are subjective that I feel like all you can really say that makes a good adventure game is it's gotta hit the basics, and it's gotta do them in a way that the last thing you want an adventure game to do is to feel like it's wasting your time.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want that.
Like, because you want to be having the adventure. You want to be having the adventure as much as possible. And while the idea of wasting your time is subjective, there are certain things that I feel like we can agree are just a waste of your goddamn time.
Yeah, picking up berries to make a thing so you can go explore another thing. But then you have to go back to collect more berries to explore more, and yeah.
What I would go with personally that I think no one can argue with is the shit in Omicron or Shenmue where it's just like with zero guidance, fucking figure it out. Go find the one person you gotta talk to. We will give you no hints.
Well, at least in Shenmue, there's only like 5 people to talk to. Just talk to the people who have names and don't move. You can talk to one of them, and they'll they'll at least point you in the general region.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And
it's just the problem with Shenmue is that you know where to be. You just have to wait until it happens.
Oh, dude. Any game that requires you to wait, like that's the reason why I can't stand most mobile games. Once they get timers that are like, wait half a day, at that point I delete it.
I don't even get that far.
I mean, I've learned by this point, but there are certain games I've been tricked into playing that I thought were real games and turned out to be mobile games in disguise.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can give them your credit card information, and you can remove that wait time.
That's the whole problem with it. It's like, spend money so that we can stop being assholes. And it's like, how about you just not be an asshole? I don't want to have to pay you for that. I shouldn't have to.
Well, then you just buy the game.
Yeah, but that's not how these games work, and that's my problem. That's...
Wasn't there an Assassin's Creed that did that? Like, you bought the game, and then you had to, like, pay them for other things to make the game more playable.
Yes, there were so many games that have pay to win bullshit in it. There was the Battlefront 2 nonsense with their loot boxes and you earning currency to get loot boxes to get more equipment, and that went real bad. And Disney had a long talk with EA about like stop being such blood-sucking evil vampires, and EA was like, we'll stop for a couple years.
We'll consider it. It's on the itinerary at some point.
It's on the table. We'll share it with the shareholders. We'll see what they think. Because Lord knows the shareholders know what's best for the company. God, I hate public companies. Anyway.
Yeah, we're kind of getting off track. and this was supposed to be a short thing. We're at almost 40 minutes.
I know. I'm trying to like...
And we have talked about Shenmue for maybe like an eighth of this.
I know. And that's the problem. That's why I was trying to like circle around and be like, there just are certain tenets of adventure games that like you gotta have, and it's hard to define how you do them well. But, like, you gotta have a good story. You gotta have a good world. You gotta have good mechanics.
Look, to have a good game, you just need to have good things.
Yeah, like, and...
You can't have bad things in your good game.
I know. And I'll be honest. It wasn't... The point of this wasn't necessarily to get... wasn't necessarily that I had an answer in mind. It's that I wanted to have the discussion in case there was an answer. And I'm constantly just coming to the realization. It's like, man, there really isn't a good answer. It's easy to find the ones that do it bad. But there's always going to be some people who are like, that's my favorite.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm one of those insane people who's like, breakable weapons is Breath of the Wild. Yeah, that's fun. But I also completely understand. It's like, why does my Master Sword break? Like, literally, why?
See, I'm fine with weapon durability and stuff like that, as long as it's not an excuse to make me go do busy work. Because, like, Dark Souls does weapon durability, and it's like, that's fine, because even if it breaks, I can still use it until I get back and I fix it.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild is like, oh, it broke, and, well, now, tough luck. Go find another weapon. Go stop what you're doing, and go search for things.
Okay, so...
Leave the dungeon.
Leave... Well, that's the worst part about it. Half the time there is no dungeon.
Well, yeah. I suppose that's probably why there's no enemies in dungeons.
Yeah. Well, there are... No, there aren't.
I mean,
There's enemies in the shrines.
Yeah, and there's usually a weapon or two in there.
Yeah. I guess my biggest thing with that was that for me, in the early game, I think it was fine because anything you could find was reasonable.
Yeah.
That's where my whole, like, generating stories from this mechanic. But yeah, in the later game, it just became hoard every good thing you can find and always use the Master Sword.
Yeah, because I remember you had said something about, like, yeah, no, there's a Royal Claymore that spawns on top of a watchtower, so he can just, as soon as the Blood Moon happens, just
pop back,
drop what you're doing, and go pick up the sword.
And for me, that's just as bad as, my weapon durability's out, go back to the blacksmith.
Yeah, but, like, you can go to the blacksmith and you can repair all your weapons at once.
Well,
as opposed to finding more weapons.
Well, for me, that's the equivalent thereof of... I've picked out... I would do this whenever I would play. I had markers, like, there's where this is, this. I would have basically half an inventory's worth of royal weaponry to go and pick up every time there was a blood moon, so that I would never be in that situation where
whoops, all your weapons broke.
That's not a... I just realized that's not a point in its favor.
No, it really isn't.
I'm just crazy, and I'm like, I'm fine with this, because I don't mind doing this shopping list. I don't mind, because... And I think that's the real difference, is that when my gameplay of Breath of the Wild would just be me mostly fucking around. 90% of my playthrough was goofing the fuck off. So stopping what I was doing to go pick up my shit, not a big deal. I wasn't doing anything.
I don't know. A lot of my playthrough just became, hey, there's a group of enemies over there. I'm just gonna ignore that.
That's unfortunate.
I'm just gonna be like, well, I've fought these things before. I can just not fight them. I'm sure they're not even guarding anything that I care about.
Yeah.
And then it became, okay, now I'm just gonna go on specific hunts. Like, I'm gonna go find a Lionel so I can steal its body parts and shove them into my armor.
Yeah, that is what the game turned into.
And then it's like, oh, a Bokoblin? Yeah, I don't need to fight you. You're not gonna drop anything. You're not even gonna drop money.
Yeah, no. Well, no, you could sell monster parts.
Yeah, but like,
I mean,
you're wasting more weaponry.
Well, but that was the thing. It's that I would keep myself so topped off on weaponry that and that really just came down to, like, I loved the combat in Breath of the Wild. I don't think it was a masterpiece, but I loved how much you could do and how you could just feel completely overpowered.
Yeah, so, once your numbers were big enough.
Yeah, but...
You wouldn't feel overpowered if you were fighting a silver Bokoblin with a stick. You'd feel pretty underpowered, I think.
Yeah, that is what the... Well, the problem is that when you do hero mode and you're dealing with the gold ones and they all get their health back, I beat, like, Okay, I think this will sum up everything about like what I got out of Breath of the Wild. I think my last playthrough was a basic heart playthrough where I would never. I think I upgraded my hearts to get the Master Sword, and then put it all back into stamina. And I went out into the snow, and I found a Lionel. I had 3 hearts.
You mean like 6? Pretty sure you start with 6 hearts in.
You do?
I'm pretty sure.
Or was it 4? I don't remember. I had the basic number of hearts. That's all I remember. I had the lowest number of hearts you could have, and I went out and I found that Lionel, and I fought that fucker until I beat him. And it was funny because what that playthrough initially was going to be was I'm going to beat the whole game. But once I beat that Lionel, I was like,
wow,
you know what?
Can't believe Ganon was a Lionel the whole time.
It's like, that was probably just as hard as Ganon will be. I'm good. I got that was the last adventure I needed to have. And I think that probably is why Breath of the Wild is so much fun for me, is that I ate up the combat. I loved the combat so much. I loved toying with all the different weapons. There were boomerangs and bows. You could make fuckers disappear. You could fucking backflip people and then stab them a bunch. Like, it was a sensory experience in badass. And then you would get blasted away by a laser.
Yeah. Or you would pull off the flurry, but unfortunately the move that you did that to also includes a shockwave plus killing you.
Oh, I'm sure that happened to me when I fought the Lionel.
Yeah, no, the hammer ones, they could do that.
Oh no, I didn't fight a hammer one. I should have done that.
You get the flurry, but guess what? It still hit the ground, and you're still taking 15 hearts worth of damage.
Damn it! Now I gotta go back and fight a hammer Lionel.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No.
I gotta do it.
Just wait.
No.
45 days.
No, well.
And
you know what? You're probably right. I shouldn't go back and play Breath of the Wild right now.
Yeah, probably not.
Anyway, I need to cut this off because I know I'm just gonna keep gushing about Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that's kind of what this has turned into.
It's. I feel like it's the perfect game to dissect because it's so. Because I feel like the differences in opinion that we have on it really highlight things about adventure games. It's really the perfect specimen to pull apart for this discussion. Which is unfortunate because it was supposed to be about Shenmue, but whatever. Shenmue...
Well, this whole discussion's been like Shenmue. We're waiting for the next big event to happen.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Anyway,
that'll happen tomorrow. I don't know.
Look, what?
We gotta go to bed, and then eventually, like at 3:00, we'll meet a guy and we'll talk about Shenmue with him, and then.
Oh right, okay, Shenmue joke. I'm just
I'm
sitting there like, what?
And then we'll go home again, and then we'll get like a job at a forklift factory or something like that.
We'll have a random dream about a bird, and it won't mean anything because it won't tell us that it means anything. God, useless cutscenes are.
I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say it. Like, I get if you're trying to be artistic, but for the love of God, Shenmue is so fucking esoteric that I need the game sometimes to just tell me things, because it's like I'm staring at this bird and I don't know what to feel. Who the fuck is this lady? Why are we looking at Land D? What the fuck is happening? And it just stops. There's no explanation. Nothing's happening. I learn nothing. And then the game fucking ends and I find out that you don't even meet the fucking lady until the end of Shenmue 2!
Yeah, the 2-hour epilogue.
Man, fuck Shenmue. We're done.
Okay, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.